There is so much more to God than what many of you grasp. So much more, my beloved friends. So much more. And if you were interested and hungry, how much more you would be full with your cup running over. But you don't ask why, which is the word logos. Logoi. In the beginning was the logoi. The reason why. That's the actual meaning of the word why, the reason why. An ancient etymology of understanding words. He's the reason why. In the beginning was the logos, the reason why. In the beginning was the word. Nothing that was made without him. It is to look and to go, the reason why. I am the word. I am the reason why. I am the word, the living reason why. And in technology, the reason why. Cosmology, the reason why. Physiology, the reason why. Eschatology, the reason why. Archaeology, theology, the reason why. All of that is the reason why. Logi, logos, logo. He is the word. He is the reason why. I did a podcast earlier in the year giving you all the definitions of the logo, the reason why, the word. And throughout the Jewish history, diaspora, when in captivity, when in a foreign nation, they make it smarter, they make it brighter, they make it wiser. Magi, magoi, from the Babylonian Empire. Where do you think all of that came from? 600 years before Yeshua. You look at Daniel in Babylon, when the Jews were taken away. Daniel, like Joseph in Egypt, rose in the court of the kings. The reason why, the word, the wisdom, Moses and Aharon. Wow. In the court of Pharaoh. Moses exceeded. Joseph exceeded. Daniel exceeded. The people of the book have a wisdom and a knowledge that did not exist. And then when Babylon was taken over by Persia, it was, as they say, the Zoroastrians who were students under Daniel. And when Cyrus came in, they recognized the power of these Jews. Cyrus became a friend. He was advised by the wise men of Babylon, the Zoroastrians, who themselves had learned from the Jewish prophets. Hello? It is no wonder Zoroastrianism, the ancient religion of Iran, Persia, looks just like Judaism. Don't forget, Muhammad copied the books of the Jews. God has given them this sacred knowledge. And everywhere they've gone throughout the world, they've advanced all societies. And they still do to this day. In all fields. Including your banking system. So when you hear the story of the three Magi, wise men, these were men trained in Jewish prophecy. Thanks to Cyrus, Zoroastrian, and Daniel, Nebuchadnezzar in Babylon. Daniel was basically like Josephus Flavius when the Romans came in and demolished and took Joseph as they took Daniel. Joseph Flavius. Wisdom, knowledge. God always has one to educate the other nations, to bring them into it, and to knowledge, to make them better. You want to make a Jew your friend. the people of the book. The three wise men were not three wise men. It was a group who for hundreds of years had been studying the prophecies before Yeshua. They weren't following a star, they followed prophecy. They knew, they read, and they knew. They didn't show up at a stable. In fact, he was born in a courtyard of an inn. That was common. That's just historical record. The group of wise men found him in a house, and they knew. And the Lord gave them a sign that they were in the right place by the time they got there, that there was a star sign in the heavens over the house where he was. And they came in. If you read more carefully in the scripture, you will see it. Wisdom. Born in a courtyard, not some separate barnyard. Within the gates of the inn. If you go to courtyard hotels, it resembles the inns of Israel. Ayer Suites does, Marriott Courtyard in the courtyard. And in the center of the fountain, that was where, even in the old western towns, where the animals would get their water, where travelers would sit and get their water. In the middle. In other words, they camped. That's right. Right there in the open center of the courtyard. Your faith has more truth and more teeth than what you realize. And this winter solstice celebration dates back to Northern Europe, who worship the Yule logs, the Yule tide, traced to the god of Odin, whereas Southern Europe was Saturn, the southern Italian regions of the god of Saturn. And the Dutch, Nicolai, Saint Nicolai, where they get the claws. Remember New York, where the Dutch originally settled. That's where we have the Santa Claus parade. It's their tradition. The tree was the German tradition. When the English monarchy was intermarried with the Germans, they were the ones who started. In fact, it was Albert who started with the Queen of England in order to start what? Christmas trees. The monarchy of England started that. A celebration of winter solstice. It was a godless celebration tied to the goddess fertility cults, from the change of winter, coming out of winter into spring, when the sun was going into darkness, the winter solstice. It was an opportunity for people to lose themselves, where we get the carnival, carnival, festival of meat. You could do anything, like the night of the purge. Men were dressed as women, women were dressed as men. The high class elite would serve, and that's on the Dutch, by the way, intertwined into that, from St. Nicholas, where the high and mighty would come down and serve the servants. Ancient practices interwoven, and it wasn't until the 1900s where we had William Irving, a author born in 1783, and I think 1812 for Charles Dickens, who began to write these Christmas stories. The Christmas Carol, and others, and Scrooge. All of the Sleepy Hollow. One of England, one is in the Americas, although the America one is from England as well. Scotland. These writers would write these stories, intertwine them, and the English monarchy would begin by first bringing the Norse mythology of the evergreen pine tree into the house. And even before that, it was Pope Gregory who sent his missionary emissary into England to get them to stop these pagan festivals. Christians wanted no part of that at that point. But Pope Gregory's failure to convert the English, the Scots, these people from these winter festivals, decided, well, if you can't beat them, join them, and begin to mix and integrate. The faith of Christ started the first Mass for Christ during this winter solstice to counter the worship of the S-U-N and make it the worship of the S-O-N. Now you're mixing the holy with the unholy. If I can't get them to stop, we'll just create a hybrid, a mutation, a counter festival. Martin Luther went along with it. The Calvinists did not. Presbyterians opposed it. The Quakers opposed it. The Amish opposed it. There was a great divide in the Christian church between integrating and mixing. And you get the two theological, philosophical opposing views, Protestant and Catholic, and then the various sects of Protestantism that decided they wanted no part of it. Even some of the cults are different, like the Jehovah's Witnesses. They have a set of their own problems. Because it was popular with the people to mix these celebrations. And so when you see the Brazilian festival and Mardi Gras and all these other festivals, it's all the same. They're all tied to the pageantry of paganism. The celebration for one day, it was actually 12 days, 12 feast days, a winter solstice, which commenced on the 25th and ended on January the 6th. And now you see many cultures, they ended on January the 6th. The 12 days of Christmas. We used to sing that song as children, not realizing how unholy it was. It was all about that festival. Go wild, get crazy. You can sin. You can do all kinds of sexual perversions. You can do all kinds of things. Trick or treat, all rolled into one. You are free without any prosecution. Be wild for 12 days. Get it out of your system. Break marital vows. Have fornication. Get drunk. So drunk that you would pass out, and so full of gluttony that you would fall out. Feast. Drink. Be merry. Be crazy. For tomorrow we die. And then it became commercially advantageous. After all, look at the money we can make. The whole society loves this. They've all gone crazy. The Christians resisted it until they got tired of resisting. You know, when you give in to the temptation. There was no such thing as a nativity scene, by the way. That was a crypt. It was a celebration of a crypt. It was no such thing. The believers never had any Christmas celebration in the Bible. They never did any of these things that were concocted by men. Really, heathens. It was a heathen festival that people decided to adopt when they couldn't get people to change. Well, you don't have to get them to change. Let them do what they do. Give unto Caesar's what is Caesar's, and to God what is God. Just don't you do it. That's what he told them. Go into Canaan. Just don't worship their gods. He didn't tell them to tear down those statues. Don't you build one yourself. Don't you make a stick, fall down in front of it, craft an angel and pray to it, put up a statue and give it fruit and gifts and money. Call out. You are not to do that. You follow the real God. Be an example. They can do whatever they want to do. As for me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord, Joshua said. You want to serve Baal? You want to call on your gods? on Mount Carmel as Elijah called out the prophets of Baal? Go ahead. When you're done, my turn. Truly, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of Israel, the God of our Jewish people, is the master of the universe, the creator of all things. And yet you who have the truth find it so easy to treat it poorly and think you have to trust the prostitute and the mistress. You've got a wife at home. What are you doing? You've got a wife at home who loves you. Why are you cheating? There's no need to. You don't need the mistress. You don't need the lies. You don't need Disneyland. You don't need the fiction and the fairy tales. You have the truth. Would you settle for something less when you have the best? Would you compromise your truth for a lie? When you could teach your children the truth, which is far more exciting and amazingly supernatural. The real natural truth is supernatural. And you could do that. So why would you prefer less when you have the best? Why would you prefer fast food at McDonald's when you've got a wonderful lamb or filet mignon or baked chicken at home, fresh potatoes cooked in good fat and oil and not seed oils, fresh vegetables from the garden cooked over a stove with hands of love prepared just for you? And you want a stranger's touch in a strange machine with rotten, nasty, reused oil with horrible ingredients. And that's what you choose to satisfy your body when you could be drunk on the elixir of the wine of the Spirit of God. Holy bread, holy water, people that love you. But yet so many of you choose the lies, not just in your theology, but even in your relationships, you choose to lie. You don't want the good friend. You don't want the good God. You'd rather give your time, your energy, and your affection to the things that seek to destroy you. You give your money and your resources to the devil's kingdom, and you will gladly feed and rob God of his work to give the devil his due. And you think it's holy to take from God to give to the devil. To take your love from your wife and give to a mistress. You think that's holy. But such is the history of man who resists the truth and prefer the lie.